And what is up, boys and girls? It's an all-new the RCWR post show coming at you this Father's Day Sunday weekend of June 15th, 2014. A very good Sunday night to you all. I hope your weekend has went off to a pretty good start, or at least it's ending on a good note. I did not check out the NBA Finals, so I don't know what was going on with that, as I dedicated all of my time to tonight's episode of TNA Slammiversary, which we're definitely going to be going all in depth about, and I definitely want to hear from you all. As always, our phone lines are open when it comes to our pay-per-view coverage, so you can kick back, smile, and dial 646-478-3525. One more time, that's 646-478-3525. You can also get my attention hitting me on Twitter at the RCWR Show. Special shout out to those of you who I interacted with off and on throughout tonight's Slammiversary coverage. And while you're at it, look us up on Facebook. You can interact with us there as well. Facebook.com/Infinity One Productions. See, we've been picking up some more likes and all that over the weekend for our Facebook page. Really appreciate that love and great support. Now, look, tonight's episode of the RCWR Show is being sponsored in part by not one, but two great folks that we need to tell you about here tonight. That's right, we got two sponsors for this Slammiversary post show. Our first one is being sponsored in part by STDHomeTestKit.com. Guys and gals, let me speak with you for just a quick second. When was the last time you and your partner had went and got yourself checked for STDs? Now look, just because you may have a monogamous relationship where you both are exclusive to one another, you know, you can still get an STD. It can come in the form as something as simple as oral sex. Now look, some of you may feel a little bit embarrassed to go to your doctor, nearby clinic, hospital, whatever. Well, all you got to do is just head on over to STDHomeTestKit.com. You can order yourself an STD kit, get sent to your home. You can take the results, or you can test yourself rather, and you'll have the results in less than 10 minutes. You'll know, your partner will know, and you can go from there. Knowing is better than not knowing. So make sure that you head on over to STDHomeTestKit.com and get yourself tested today. Not just for you, but for your partner. Our second sponsor is 01 Pro Wrestling. Hey, do you have dreams of making it big in professional wrestling? Do you want to be a manager, a wrestler, a valet extraordinaire? My good friends over at 01 Pro Wrestling can help you out with that. Look them up on Facebook.com, the Pro Wrestling School, and while you're there, give their page a like. They'll definitely be able to give you the necessary tools that's needed so that you can maybe make a nice career for yourself in the wrestling industry. One more time, hit them up on Facebook.com/the Pro Wrestling School and let them know your good friend over here, Lee Sanders of the RCWR Show, had sent you. We thank them hugely for sponsoring us for tonight's TNA Slammiversary post show. All right, so overall, I wanted to say this off the break about TNA Slammiversary. I enjoyed it. There was a couple of areas that just kind of had me left scratching my head, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But overall, I did enjoy this pay-per-view. I thought it was very solid. I like how things had kicked off with the X Division Championship match contested in a ladder match, as we had saw Sonata defend against a lot of names right here too. So bear with me if from time to time I check my notes here. It was Sonata defending against Manic, Tigre Uno, Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards, Crazy Steve. Yeah, a lot of names right there. Yeah, Manic, for those of you keeping track at home, had made his return. You know, wasn't it just last year that Manic had like this emotional segment on Impact Wrestling where DC Carter had presented to him a TN contract, no more fighting and scratching and clawing his way, trying to find a place in the wrestling industry. You just heard about how this guy was living in a van down by the river and all that. And he was just doing what he could to survive. He was just that hungry, that determined to try to make it into the business and everything. And Dixie Carter gives him a TNA contract, and you're saying to yourself, man, this Manic guy, wow, he's definitely going to be going places. And like, this was the first time we saw Manic in like many months. You know, I just couldn't help but kind of bring that up because, like, as soon as I saw Manic, for some weird reason, that just popped up. I mean, I knew he was going to be involved in the match, but it didn't really dawn on me, hey, this guy did sign some type of a long-term TNA contract deal a while back. It was like, well, what's going on with that? Nothing has really come to fruition as a result of that. But anyway, in either case, I love this X Division ladder match. I saw a lot of great spots that was in this. We saw Sonata retain. I mean, you talk about stacked odds right there for Sonata. Honestly, even though I said on our Call That Match edition, look for him to retain, the odds definitely were not stacked in his favor. A lot of great spots that we saw in that match. I guess when you really kind of let it set in, I guess just the fact that Sonata is tied to Great Muta's Wrestle One promotion and all that, that's probably going to buy him a little bit more time as the X Division champion and everything. And you know what? Hey, I'm all fine for that, but my whole thing is just when we're really starting to get used to Sonata as TNA Wrestling, they've just been doing a phenomenal job and telling these really great little short stories every couple of weeks to kind of get you familiar with him and everything. I would just have to say consistency. That is probably my only issue with Sonata, and maybe that's because he's still trying to work out the whole USA visa arrangement so that he can continue to work out here and everything. I don't know if that's maybe an issue at all. I'm hoping it's not, because if it isn't, then I would really like to see TNA Wrestling do their very best possible to utilize this man to his fullest extent, because he's a phenomenal athlete, and what he's been doing in that TNA ring is nothing in comparison to what he's been doing overseas. I would highly recommend, if you guys aren't that familiar with him and his style of wrestling, to definitely, after maybe you get done with this, do yourself a little YouTube Daily Motion search. You know, use his name, type in Japan matches, and have fun. That's all I got to say. But yes, Sonata had retained his championship. I thought this was a great way to open up the Slammiversary pay-per-view. No doubt about it. Our next segment, if you will, we saw MVP make an appearance, and in case you all that did not see Slammiversary, you maybe have not heard about the TNA Wrestling headlines that's been coming about leading up into tonight's Slammiversary event. MVP was pulled from the main event match against Eric Young for the TNA Championship. Why? Because MVP had messed up his knee. It was a meniscus tear, I think is how they're describing it. It had came about while he was doing a wrestling event in the UK a couple of weeks back, and we kept updating you guys as far as him making a recent appearance on Jericho's podcast, talking about the injury, saying they're taking it on a day-to-day basis leading up to tonight's pay-per-view event to try to figure out whether or not he was going to be able to wrestle or not. And we did see him come out on crutches with Bobby Lashley and Kenny King to announce that he was not going to be able to compete. But that most importantly, remember how we had saw on Impact Wrestling from this past Thursday night, how Mike Tenay and Taz, they mentioned this tweet from Dixie Carter saying she had met with the TNA board of directors, basically saying justice was kind of served with regards to trying to get a one-up on MVP and all that. Well, we kind of found out through MVP what that was, as it looks like temporarily now the TNA board of directors have put some type of a gag or a freeze, if you will, on MVP, as they're basically kind of putting him on notice that, look, Dixie Carter has made these allegations against you. She's saying that you're operating, XYZ. We're advising you that we're watching you, and I guess they're going to be having some type of a meeting with him in a couple of weeks. I don't know. Maybe he's going to be under some type of a job evaluation next several weeks. Who knows? But MVP had stressed that, in all fairness, what will be going on with Eric Young, as he will still be defending his TNA championship, it will still be a fair match. It'll just be a triple threat match, as Bobby Lashley would take on Samoa Joe. Winner of that advances to the TNA main event match to meet Eric Young, while Austin Aries will be taking on Kenny King, and the winner of that will advance to that main event steel cage match. And that was pretty much the only time that we had saw MVP really setting the tone right there. Really had enjoyed how he was working the crowd over and everything, basically saying, hey, look, I'm gracing you all with my appearance, and this is how you all are going to treat me. And by the way, that Arlington, Texas crowd, I got to give it up to Texas. See, I am a guy that when it comes to all things wrestling, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's neutral, I think I got a new little catchphrase here. News is news. Okay, I heard from like some of you TNA diehard fans, you very passionate TNA wrestling fans, that thought that we were doing an all-out assault on a TNA house show in Maryland from last week. I heard from you guys. You all tried to chew me out, and I responded to every single one of you all, and I said, look, it doesn't matter who the wrestling promotion is. I don't care if they're doing good as far as their house shows or bad. I'm going to do my best to cover it if it's making the headlines like that, okay? And I will give good praise where good praise is needed on a case-to-case type basis. And for tonight's TNA Slammiversary in Texas, they had a great turnout. I mean, from the pictures that I saw throughout the social web, it looked as though it was almost sold out. I mean, I kind of saw almost a 360 perspective, and it just looked like the seats were just jam-packed. Wasn't really sure kind of what was going on in a particular section. If it's empty, hey, I think regardless if there was a section that might have been a little bit empty, you got to admit they had a really great turnout for tonight's event. It was a great wrestling crowd, a great crowd at that. It doesn't get any better than a Texas wrestling crowd. I mean, these guys grew up on the Von Erichs, the Freebirds. I mean, we can go on and on and on and on and on. But I mean, this is definitely wrestling territory right here is where I'm getting at. So love the fact that the fans, they came out, they represented not just wrestling, but the fans came out and they represented TNA wrestling. Enjoyed it right there. Now, we need to take a quick pause right now because I want to let those of you that's going to be watching the recording of this, I want to let you know right about now you're going to be seeing an ad break. So just hang tight and deal with that for just a couple of seconds, and then we're going to come on back and we're going to continue our discussion of tonight's TNA Slammiversary pay-per-view event. You're checking out the RCWR show. And we are back. All right, so let's continue on and talk about tonight's TNA Slammiversary pay-per-view. We just got done talking about the great crowd attendance that was at tonight's event. Very vocal crowd at that, as the action would continue on with Bobby Lashley taking on Samoa Joe. Very, very physical matchup right here, just as I was laying it out on our Call That Match edition over the weekend. Oh, I love this match. I really thought it was going to be a little bit more slow-paced for some odd reason. I'm not sure why I was kind of getting that impression, but the pace, it was actually much faster than I had thought. I really thought it was going to kind of be one of those slow slugger fest type of matches, but it ended up not being that way. It was very physical, very intense. Loved it. Bobby Lashley just coming out of nowhere towards the end with the spear to the abdominal region of Samoa Joe to pick up the 1, the 2, the 3. Exactly how I had laid it out. I told you guys, I said, don't really expect there to be shenanigans going on as far as Bobby Lashley picking up a tainted win over Samoa Joe. Yet at the same time, I was kind of looking for a finish in a way that would still have Joe look pretty strong since the man just came back. I was actually looking for Bobby Lashley to maybe, I don't know, piss off Joe to the point that Joe does some stuff, does the referee's call, gets disqualified as a result, but he still looks pretty strong, you know? But instead, it was just a Bobby Lashley spear and a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Can Samoa Joe bounce back from this? Yeah, I feel Samoa Joe can definitely bounce back from this. And let's not also forget Samoa Joe is still owed that one match for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship that he never got. So Samoa Joe is, for the sake of the argument, he is still in that little title hunt scene, I feel. You know, it should be interesting to see how the next batch of weeks in TNA Impact Wrestling go down, because I really feel that he still needs to be involved in the main event title scene. But Bobby Lashley advances to the main event match. We saw Willow with Abyss in his corner take on Magnus with Braun in his corner. Was I the only one that was slightly disappointed with the fact that eventually we didn't see this match become a tag team, 2-on-2? I mean, you have Abyss out there. What's the point of Abyss just being there? I mean, I know he's supposed to have Jeff Hardy, a.k.a. Willow's back and everything, but I was really looking forward to seeing at some point the match be restarted and it become a tag match, but we didn't even see that. Instead, it was really just a typical Willow versus Magnus match. Hell, I even thought that Jeff Hardy, Willow, was going to go over. I even said that on our Call That Match edition, but instead it would actually be Magnus that would pick up the victory. Towards the end, let's pick it up around there, as we saw Braun and Abyss. They were kind of going at it outside of the ring. Braun grabbed the weapon. Meanwhile, Abyss, he decided to introduce Braun and his weapon to his weapon of choice, Janice. And we saw these two guys kind of going at it outside of the ring. Meanwhile, Willow, he tried to go for a high-risk maneuver off the top rope, but Magnus was able to counter that. And that was pretty much it. Once Magnus was able to derail Willow from the top turnbuckle, the match was pretty much over. So he basically had won that way. I'm hoping this is the end of Willow, Braun, Magnus. I really need to see Magnus and Braun move on. I think this horse has been kicked to death so many times. If they're going to go down this route one more time, then we need to see a 2-on-2 tag match. And my God, can we see Willow and Abyss stop getting, well, in particular, Willow, because Abyss just came back. So it's Willow I'm mainly concerned with. Can we stop seeing Willow get his ass handed to him? I mean, it just really kind of feels like Willow's value is devalued. That's just the way I'm kind of feeling it right there. Let me know what you guys think about that. I hope I'm on to something right there, but it just really seems like it's just been so redundant seeing this whole Willow Magnus feud go down. Austin Aries had took on Kenny King. Winner of this match would advance to meet Eric Young in the steel cage main event for the TNA Championship. I was really under the impression that Kenny King was going to be the one to advance, and they were really going to have the odds be stacked against EY, because it's like, all right, Eric Young is taking on 2/3 of Money, Power, Respect. Is he really going to be able to come out on top? Because these two guys, they will probably try to tag team on Eric Young. And I don't know, maybe TNA, as far as the booking goes, maybe they thought that was just a little bit too easy, that it would be too predictable for the people watching this, that, okay, so the fact that we saw Kenny King and Bobby Lashley advance, all right, so yeah, Eric Young, he's going to retain, no doubt about it, whatever. But keeping all that in mind, we would see Austin Aries actually pick up the win. When I just think about all the matches on the card for tonight, if I have to maybe point out my top 3 and do an honorable mention, for the top 3, I would definitely have to give a nod to Austin Aries taking on Kenny King. This was a very good match. And, you know, it's really looking as though Austin Aries is, I guess it's safe to say, he's in some type of a rebirth, if you will, because it kind of seemed like for the longest time Austin Aries was in some type of limbo. At least that's how it kind of came off. I don't know if it might have came right around the time where Aries had did that disgusting little crotch thing in Christy Hemi's face from last year. I don't know if maybe that might have rubbed people off in TNA Creative the wrong way, upper management the wrong way, but in either case, it looks like the beginning of something that can hopefully be very fruitful for Austin Aries, because he's a phenomenal talent, and I would love to see him become the TNA champion one day. I'd love to see him be that man again. Again, we had saw Austin Aries, or maybe did he become TNA champion on this night? See, I got to kind of tease you guys a little bit with that. Marinate on that for a little bit. Austin Aries, though, he would advance. So, your triple threat main event for the TNA Championship, steel cage match. Eric Young defending against Bobby Lashley and Austin Aries. We'll talk about that match at the very end. All right? One more time. I want to take a pause. Welcome those of you that's checking us out live right now as we're doing this simulcast for you all, not only on YouTube, but we're also doing it on Blog Talk Radio. If you are enjoying our recap and review so far of TNA Slammiversary, go out of your way respectfully and hit that subscribe button. That is, if it's your first time checking us out, hit the subscribe. Love to have you subscribe so that you never miss out on all the great content we do for you guys here on a weekly basis, whether it's breaking news, doing great reviews, or really cool and laid-back interviews. We got you guys hooked up. And you can actually share this recap and review post show that we're doing for you all a number of ways. You can Google Plus it, YouTube it, Facebook it, retweet it. One of the many ways. Spread a good word about our content. Once again, this episode of the RCWR show is being sponsored in part by our good friends over at STDHomeTestKit.com and also our good friends over at 01 Pro Wrestling. Make sure you show them some love, especially if you have great aspirations of having a career in the wrestling industry. Look them up on Facebook.com/The Pro Wrestling School. While you're there, you can even give their page a like. Let them know Lee Sanders of the RCWR show had sent you. We thank them tremendously for sponsoring this TNA Slammiversary post show tonight. On with the action. Let us continue as we had saw, I believe at this point, I'm trying to think what had came about now. I think at this point, it was the announcement of who was going to be the next inductee into the TNA Hall of Fame. I gave you guys some things to marinate on when last we were on the air with, I believe it was Impact Showdown last time we were on the air, and that's on Thursday night. So for those of you that want to catch us live talking about TNA Wrestling, Thursday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern, on YouTube exclusively. Soon as Impact Wrestling goes off the air, you can catch us covering TNA Fallout. I gave you guys some things to marinate on. I said, look, at this point, as far as your next TNA Hall of Fame inductee goes, maybe it's going to be Samoa Joe. If not Samoa Joe, maybe it's going to be Gail Kim. And I had gave very valid arguments why both of those two should go in. If not one, both of them. Wouldn't you know it, I kind of had something going on there with two being inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame this year. Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle, he would do the proper introductions. Now, I'm not sure of how many of you are aware that Kurt Angle had put out a picture of himself about 24 hours before tonight's Slammiversary event where he showed himself working out, and you're saying, oh man, Kurt's ripped. All right, what's up? And you couldn't help but wonder, okay, how's his leg? Because he just had got some surgery or whatever. Okay, so what's going on with Kurt Angle? Well, we saw Kurt Angle come out. Didn't look like he was limping. Seemed to be walking pretty fine. Looked to have slimmed down a little bit more. Still looked pretty bulky, though. And we saw Kurt Angle make the announcement. Drum roll, please. For those of you that maybe did not check out the title of this episode, at least on YouTube, Blog Talk Radio. Guys, if you're checking this out on the downloads here in the audio version, you don't have to worry about the title, but YouTube, they kind of got an idea. But for those of you checking this out on the downloads and everything, the audio version-wise, drum roll, please. Wow. Entering the 2014 TNA Hall of Fame is going to be not one, but two guys. Folks, Bully Ray and Devon. Team 3D. Yes, Team 3D has been inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame. And I know that there's probably some of you guys that might be looking at this move and you're probably saying to yourself, for Christ's freaking sake, man, we don't have any original TNA guys in this TNA Hall of Fame. What's up with that? I want to address that for just a couple of minutes. I don't want to go all overkill because there's still a lot more to talk about with regards to tonight's Slammiversary pay-per-view event. But let me just say this. I would love it if it was AJ Styles, and quite honestly, I feel in my heart of hearts that if TNA Wrestling and AJ Styles would have been able to work out some type of a deal where both felt very comfortable financially, and AJ Styles would end up staying with the TNA Wrestling promotion, then I have a strong feeling that as a way of paying back to AJ Styles, that he probably would have gotten announced as the third inductee into the TNA Hall of Fame. And that's for real. I'm not a betting man. I usually don't bet, but if I were to bet, I feel in my heart of hearts that's probably what would have happened. Okay? It sucks what had happened with Daniels and Kazarian. Could they have possibly gone in this year? No. Daniels alone, could he possibly have gone in? I don't think so. Honestly, I think if AJ Styles was still involved with TNA, he would have been the one to go in. After all, they've been saying for years, TNA Wrestling is the house that AJ Styles built. That's been like the catchphrase for many years. So I truly believe he would have went in. But unfortunately, because things kind of ended a little bit on a sour note, it's kind of like, all right, you're not going to do this for me. Well, slap in the face to you. And on the other side of AJ Styles' side, okay, you guys are going to give me this. All right, we'll slap you right back. So I think AJ Styles will eventually go in. But I think first there's going to probably have to be a little bit of a healing, cool down process and everything from both respected sides. But I do see AJ Styles going in eventually. Now, some of you may be saying, well, what about Jeff Jarrett or Jerry Jarrett? How about the Jarretts? After all, Jeff Jarrett is still somewhat of a shareholder in TNA Wrestling. Could maybe they had done this as a way to try to open some type of a nice, friendly line of communication with Jeff Jarrett, since he's going to be doing this whole Global Force Wrestling thing? I agree to a certain extent that maybe it would have been nice to see the Jarretts go in, try to make peace with them and everything, and say, hey, look, don't do it for us, but do it for fans, because if it wasn't for you all, TNA Wrestling would not be here. But I think that there's a lot of politics in play that probably will never, ever have the Jarretts go into the TNA Hall of Fame. I hate to say that. And I hope that in time I've been wrong and that the Jarretts go in. I do admit it kind of sucks that we aren't seeing TNA originals go in. But if I can just be real for a minute, how can you not love the fact that Team 3D is going into the TNA Hall of Fame? Now, some could kind of make this argument that maybe TNA is doing this because they kind of feel at some point that maybe Bubba Ray or Bully Ray and Devon, they're probably going to go back to the WWE. And so at least they can kind of make the argument that, hey, well, we got them in a Hall of Fame first before WWE could. I mean, the same argument could be made for getting Sting in there. The same argument could be made for getting Kurt Angle in there. You know what I'm saying? Gives you a lot to think about, considering. You know what? I'm not upset. I'm not irritated with Team 3D going into the TNA Hall of Fame. I mean, they have won tag championships and other belts throughout various promotions. I mean, these guys, when you think about greatest tag teams of all time, they're definitely up there. I'm proud of these guys for going in. I mean, they left a good mark on the wrestling business, and I love the great reception that they have received from the Texas fans there in attendance, especially for Devon. I love how the fans were chanting Devon, one more match, and the whole "you still got it," and it's like, you guys do know Devon's been wrestling on the independent circuit, right? So he's never really lost it and everything. He's actually still holding it down and doing it very well. Devon looked good too, by the way. We got to make sure that we stress that Devon looked to be in really great shape. He slimmed down big time. Very proud of that guy. And I look forward to seeing them officially get inducted in the Hall of Fame. I believe that's going to be coming at this year's Bound for Glory pay-per-view. Let me know what you guys think about the Team 3D going into the Hall of Fame. What I want to do right now, for those of you that is going to be checking this recording out, I want to let you know you're going to be seeing another ad break right now. But hang tight when we come, and we'll come on back and we'll continue the talk of TNA Slammiversary. I do thank you for staying up with us, checking us out. You're checking out the RCWR show covering TNA Slammiversary 2014. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right, so let's continue on and let's talk about Slammiversary some more. So we just talked about the TNA Hall of Fame, all right? And we know that Team 3D is going to be going in there. Let's continue on with the action. Gail Kim looking to become the Knockouts champion again, as she would take on Angelina Love for the strap. Gee, I wonder who the referee is for this match. Yeah, it's that damn Stifler. Once again, yes, Stifler. What a name that is, too. Once again, great match. Don't get me wrong. Great match between Gail Kim. Nice new attire, too, that Gail Kim was pushing. Really had enjoyed that. Great match that these girls had. But, for me, once again, Stifler getting a little bit distracted. Now, this time, we saw things kind of get shaken up a little bit. Now, we actually saw Stifler actually have eyes locked onto Velvet Sky as she used her can of hairspray, sprayed it into the face of Gail Kim. You would think that Stifler, at this point, he's probably going to call for the bell or whatever, but he lets it slide, and he's just kind of looking at Velvet Sky like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't do that. Oh! And we see him quickly turn his attention to Angelina Love, as Angelina Love did a quick roll-up, trying to get a dirty pin basically that way. 1, 2, 3. Somehow Gail Kim had managed to kick out. All right. And at this point, we finally, and we talked about this on Impact Showdown, apparently somebody must be listening to us. I know we got a couple of TNA guys that check out our show from time to time, and I'm not going to mention any names because I'm going to keep their names on the hush, but you guys know who you are, okay? Somebody must be listening to us. That's all I got to say, because we saw what I was kind of projecting on Thursday night, which is, when the hell is referee Earl Hebner going to come down and basically say, Stifler, you're screwing up too much. You're out of here. You're ejected. I'm going to call this match. We're going to talk later. We literally saw that. Earl Hebner came down, had a mouthful with Stifler, got in there. He started refereeing the match. But you know what? That would not be enough, as we would see at one point Gail Kim bump into Earl Hebner. Earl's knocked out. Gail Kim had managed to do the eat the feet. She went in for cover. 1, 2, 3, 4. God, you could count to 10. Nobody was there to count. Meanwhile, conveniently, referee Stifler was there. He's trying to see if Angelina Love is okay and everything. Eventually, we see Gail Kim. She tries to pick up Angelina Love, and Angelina Love got a second burst of wind. These two girls kind of go at it again. We see a pin attempt by Angelina Love. There's no count. Gail Kim reverses it. Once again, no count. Finally, we see Angelina Love with the pin again, and conveniently, we see Stifler go in there. 1, 2, 3. Of course, after checking on Earl Hebner, yeah, some check that was. I literally saw this guy as soon as Angelina Love had a really good pin in there, and she was close to the ropes to basically kind of grab it and all that. Jump in there, count the 1, 2, 3. I'm telling you, man, I think Stifler is getting a big old slice of not 1, but 2 slices of some beautiful people pie. as there's more that meets the eye right there with his association with the beautiful people. But hey, great little match that we saw right there. Angelina Love retaining the TNA Knockouts Championship. Bully Ray had cut a very good promo leading up to his Texas-style death match with Ethan Carter III. He went old school, man. He was bringing up names like Stan Hansen, Terry Funk, the Von Erichs, the Freebirds, and really getting you pumped up and excited for this match that he was going to be having against Ethan Carter. And let's go on ahead and let's actually talk about that match. You know, you would think that with regards to this match, we were going to see maybe Bully Ray get some type of revenge for all the crap that he's been going through recently with the Carters, right? I mean, it all kind of really goes back, especially when you think about when him and Ethan Carter III really started locking it up. It had to do with when Bully Ray had went to Dixie Carter's house and Ethan Carter had hit him from behind as it was looking as though Bully Ray was about to assault Dixie. That's when things really kind of began with the EC3 Bully Ray feud, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a little bit further than that, but the physicality part, that really came at Dixie's house and everything. And I thought it was kind of interesting how weeks, couple of months leading up to this match, Taz, Mike Tenay, we didn't really hear too much about, oh, Ethan Carter is still undefeated. We didn't really start hearing about that until about maybe 2-3 weeks before the Slammiversary pay-per-view tonight. You know, and now that hindsight is 2020 and you kind of look back on those little subtle hints. You know, we should have known that Ethan Carter was going to go over Bully Ray. I mean, if you just kind of think about it, you know, okay, Bully Ray, he gets announced for the Hall of Fame, and Devon's back and everything, and this is supposed to be a great night for Bully Ray. How does it get any sweeter? Well, he gets revenge on the Carters to a certain extent. Doesn't quite get his hands on Dixie Carter, but he's got the next best thing. He's got Ethan Carter. Let's talk about this match. A lot of great spots that we saw in it. Wasn't as I was expecting, like as far as it becoming bloody and all that, but it was still a good Texas-style type of match, all right? Towards the end, let's pick it up. We saw Ethan Carter III laid out on the table at some point. Bully Ray was actually looking to do a sweet spot off the top apron, basically send his body crashing on top of Ethan's, send him collapsing through the table and all that. Dixie Carter would come out. Rockstar Spud had already tried to get involved in this too, by the way. Which, by the way, I love the fact that Rockstar Spud was dressed as the Joker. I mean, I just thought that was a really great spot right there. Great choice of attire too, man. I don't know. You know, Rockstar Spud, he must still be tripping over Comic-Con and all that. That's all I got to say with regards to that. But we saw Rockstar Spud. He tried to hit Bully Ray with a kendo stick. And I just love how Bully Ray kind of looked at him like, you little mother lover. You actually thought that was going to work on me? We saw Bully Ray take him out real quick before getting ready to go through that table where Ethan Carter was set up on and everything. Dixie Carter would come out, interfere, basically giving Ethan Carter enough time to try to recover, as we saw Rockstar Spud manage to try to help out Ethan Carter for a little bit. Now, somewhere in the mix of all this, Bully Ray ends up chasing Dixie Carter around the ring, and as that's happening, Dixie Carter, like, literally runs into Ethan Carter as he's trying to get to his feet. So Dixie Carter's knocked out. EC3's kind of knocked out. Bully Ray grabs Dixie, puts her up, laid out on the table, right? Look like we're getting ready to see, finally, Dixie going through a table. I don't know what's going on here, but it seems like within the past several weeks, TNA has been flirting with this whole idea of a Dixie Carter going through a table. And you were kind of under the impression that maybe it was going to happen on this night. And instead, no, it actually didn't happen. Let's be for real and tell you guys what ended up happening in those final seconds. As Bully Ray went up to the top of the apron, outside the ring, and he was getting ready to send his body crashing through the table on the Dixie, We saw Ethan Carter manage to recover, grab a kendo stick, and he basically cracked Bully Ray upside the head over it, right? Bully Ray gets ready to go crashing through the table. Rockstar Spud conveniently manages to grab Dixie Carter out of the way in time. Bully Ray is out, and apparently for this particular type of match, even though it's a Texas Death Style match, basically the rules for this match, you basically had to, in order to win, have your opponent be knocked out and not able to answer a 10 count. Now, some of you are probably hearing that, and you're probably saying, well, Lee, why the hell don't they just go on ahead and call it a last man standing match? I say to you, that's a damn good point. Only argument I can make is the fact that they're in Texas, and they wanted to kind of pay homage to Texas. That's how I'm going to counter that, all right? But in either case, Bully Ray crashing through the wooden tables, could not answer the 10 count. I really wanted Bully Ray to go over right here. I really did. I really felt that he needed it. It's like at this point, why the hell does Ethan Carter III still have this undefeated streak? I mean, really, why does he still have it? You know, maybe the payoff is going to be that Ethan Carter will lose his undefeated streak when TNA Wrestling brings the action to New York City. And on top of that, maybe we're finally going to see Dixie Carter go through a wooden table at the New York City event, as I'm kind of getting the impression that Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore may probably do some type of an invasion, and we may see some type of revenge as far as Tommy Dreamer, Bully Ray teaming up, and maybe they're going to try to do something with Dixie. I wouldn't be too surprised, you know, especially since the way that they're kind of setting up some of the commercials for these New York City events. I know they're saying that, I think it's the day 3 event that TNA is going to be in New York City, that it's going to be so memorable and all that because they're going to be doing Impact Wrestling tapings and all that. So I don't know. Maybe it's going to happen. Who knows? We'll wait and see. But once again, Ethan Carter III picking up the victory. We only got, my God, we only got like 2 more matches. No, we got about 3 more matches to talk about here. Let's go on ahead and let's talk about the Von Erichs. Yes, the young Von Erich brothers, along with their dad, Kevin Von Erich, have made their TNA wrestling debut. And man, time hasn't really been too kind for Kevin Von Erich. But I tell you what we saw at the end, I didn't know he was capable of moving that fast. I'll talk about that in a couple of seconds. But yeah, you know, we had saw them, and you know, as I suspected, they had taken on the Bromans. It was Robbie E. and DJ Zema Ion. And you know what, man? Those Von Erichs, man, they move just like their dad. I gotta admit, I was very impressed with them. One of them is 21, and how old is the other one? 26. Them boys can move. If that was officially their TNA wrestling debut, like as far as them officially being on the roster and all that, I see nothing but great things happening for them. I grew up on the Von Erichs. I definitely go back to a time in wrestling that I can say I proudly was able to grow up and witness, which was the Von Erichs taking on the Freebirds and all that. Great stuff right there. I definitely lived through each of the Von Erichs that had passed over the years. I'm definitely sure it was a tough pill to swallow for a lot of us that had appreciated the Von Erichs. And I know some of you guys are probably hearing all this and you're saying, if you're hot into the chicks or heavy into the girls and all that, you're probably saying, hey, where was Lacey Von Erich? Was Lacey Von Erich there by chance? No, she wasn't. And it's got me now thinking, and I'm actually going to do some research because it's been a minute since I've really stayed up to date on the TNA One Night Only events. But I'm curious if Lacey Von Erich had anything to do with the One Night Only events since she had parted ways with TNA Wrestling. Because if not, I'm really kind of getting the impression that Lacey probably has bitter feelings towards the TNA Wrestling promotion. Anybody that's current on your TNA one night only events, and you know what all has gone about. You check them all out. Let me know and let the listeners know by hitting me up on Twitter, or if you're watching this on YouTube right now, post a comment down below. Let us know if Lacey Von Erich has done anything with TNA Wrestling since she made her exit. And we'll definitely do our best to make sure we share that info next time we come on the air. But I'm really kind of led to the impression, though I could be wrong, that Lacey hasn't done anything with TNA since her exit. But hey, man, who cares? You had the other Von Erichs that were there. And we saw the Von Erichs actually pick up a win via DQ as the Bromans would get a steel chair involved and everything. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful rivalry. I'm hoping that things will continue on. I'm curious to see what's going to be happening with the next batch of Impact Wrestling programming, as I'm hoping that, because I mean that's where the line is a little blurred. I mean, they said that these guys were making their TNA Wrestling debut, but was this for a one night only event, or did these guys actually sign on to TNA Wrestling? We'll know in the coming weeks. But you know, regardless of that, even though we had saw the spot that we did with the Bromans in the steel chair, Kevin Von Erich, I mean, he jumped over the guardrail, got into that ring, and he hit Zema Ion with the claw, Von Erich claw. I've never seen him move so fast. And then I actually had to remind myself that it was about probably, what's it been now, guys? Probably almost maybe 10 years now that we had saw Kevin Von Erich wrestle in the WWE. I remember there was like a one night only thing where he actually had wrestled. I can't remember who he had took on, but it was so awesome to see him in there. The man could still move, and even though he looked pretty frail, you know, he still could move in there. He moved like a cat. I was really amazed at his speed. But overall, I thought it was a very good debut for the young Von Erich brothers. TNA Wrestling, if you have not done so already, sign these boys to a lucrative deal. Please, I want to see it happen. Those of you that's checking out the recording of this right now, we're going to be taking a pause one last time for an ad break, and then we're going to wrap up the talk of TNA Slammiversary, get the fan live interactions. So stick around. You're checking out the RCWR show. And we are back. All right, so let's talk about the final couple of matches here for Slammiversary. James Storm taking on Mr. Anderson. What? Anderson, you know, I really enjoyed the Cowboys promo to the Dallas Cowboys. He took a nice big fat crap on the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, he was just really rubbing it in how their team sucks. And I loved how he said, me, I'm a Tennessee Titan type of guy. And as he said that, he conveniently pulled out a Dallas Cowboys helmet, threw it on the floor, grabbed his beer bottle, and as he was saying he was a Tennessee guy, he let his beer bottle just beer overflowing all over the helmet to make it look like he was taking a piss on that Dallas Cowboys helmet. And you just see some of the Dallas Cowboy players who were conveniently there to root on TNA Wrestling and all that. You knew this was going to be a spot where the celebrities were going to be clashing with the wrestlers. I didn't have a problem with that spot either. I thought it was awesome. I loved the digs that Storm was giving to the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, he was really provoking the hell out of them. It seemed like a fight was going to be breaking out at any moment. James Storm would eventually have his match with Anderson as these two guys. You know what? If I'm looking back at all the matches here, second honorable mention. No, I'm not going to say second honorable mention. I'm going to say as far as like top 3 matches, James Storm versus Anderson. I'm definitely going to put that in there as well. I might have to actually stretch this out to top 4 matches. So let's go ahead and do that. Top 4 matches. I got to give the nod to Anderson and Storm. As we projected over the weekend, I had Anderson picking up the victory mainly because just the last few times he's been crossing paths with Storm, Storm's been owning his ass. And honestly, I love the fact that you had the Dallas Cowboys be used the way that they were, because at one point towards the end of the match, we had saw Cowboy Storm go over to the Dallas Cowboys, and he took a swig of beer, spit it in their faces, and they were ready to jump the guardrail and just kill him. And we saw good old Atlas security come in there, separate him and all that. As we saw Cowboy Storm, he had made it to the top of the apron, and he was looking to finish off Anderson, as he had beaten him down to a point where he was able to go and talk trash to the Dallas Cowboy players. But we saw one or two Cowboy players jump the guardrail. One of them had grabbed James Storm's foot. Anderson, able to take advantage of the distraction, hit Cowboy Storm with the mic check to pick up the victory. And then we saw a little bit of a celebration come about. Leave it to Mike Tenay and Taz to go, hey, Mike, this is going to be on SportsCenter. You know, did it. And yeah, we're probably going to see it on SportsCenter. No doubt about that. Anderson picking up the victory, though. So far, if you're keeping track of some of the matches that I had mentioned, like as far as top 4, nod goes to James Storm, Ken Anderson. Another nod, I would say, has to go to Austin Aries, Kenny King. Really had enjoyed the Von Erichs taking on the Bromans. I was quite pleased with that. So there's your 3 right there. 4th would have to go to the main event match. Eric Young defending against Bobby Lashley and Austin Aries. Steel cage match. Damn good match. What can I say? Really, really damn good match. I mean, as I was watching it play out, and I'm hearing the entrance music for each guy coming out, I'm just saying to myself, how the hell is Bobby Lashley going to fit into this? How is he going to be able to keep up the pace and get that level of energy that we know Aries and Eric Young are going to bring to each other? How is he going to be able to stay in that flow of energy? Because as I'm thinking about this match and I'm hearing the introductions, I'm saying at some point Bobby Lashley is going to have to get taken out of the equation, because he can't move as good as those two guys can. I mean, he's good, okay? Then let's not take anything away from Bobby Lashley. He's got that pure amateur wrestling background and all that, but you know, he's kind of more like a Brock Lesnar type of guy almost, but with a little bit more speed, okay? And sure enough, we did see a spot come about where all the attention would be on Austin Aries, Eric Young going at it, all right? And I had no problem with that. Great spot towards the end as we saw Bobby Lashley. I guess he tried to spear, I want to say maybe it was Eric Young. I mean, it was just so fast. I actually didn't really get a chance to see who it was that he tried to spear, but he failed big time as Bobby Lashley missed the spear and would instead go through the steel cage door. So he's kind of out of it right there. So we finally get the matchup one-on-one. Eric Young, Austin Aries. I don't know about you guys. I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, now this is going to be interesting. This is wrestling. Let's see what happens right here. And those two guys, they freaking delivered right there. Eric Young getting the upper hand to retain the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Now look, man, some of you guys may feel that Eric Young should not have retained. I would not disagree with that. I feel that honestly, if MVP would have been able to compete, I feel, especially after checking out Bruce Pritchard's latest DVD, he did something with kayfabe commentaries and we actually have a review. I'll probably be uploading this maybe after this is done. So if you guys want some more cool wrestling content, just stick around. It'll probably take me about maybe, I'd say maybe 2 hours or less. I'll upload it on here for sure before I go to bed tonight. But Bruce Pritchard did a guest booker, and he was talking about the whole Montreal screw job that went on with Bret Hart. And basically with this guest booker series, they rewrite history and all that. So it's like, okay, knowing the end result of what happened with Bret, how everything was between him, Vince, Shawn, and all that, they could rewrite history, what would happen. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because, in part, there was talk about TNA and the fact that Bruce Pritchard did not have the type of creative freedom that he would have liked to had. And it kind of sucked because he was really good at what he was doing. And some of you guys may go, yeah, whatever. He wasn't that good. Well, you know what? By the time you see this guest booker or you hear our review for it, you're going to be like, wow, Bruce Pritchard came up with that? And TNA didn't give him the green light? Here's what I'm saying here. Bruce Pritchard, in part of why he met so much resistance from TNA Wrestling, for example, they could have a 1.01 rating 1 week. And because they get the next week a 0.97, everybody's freaking the hell out. And it's like, well, you know what? Make this person lose the title. Let's put this title on this person instead. Let's bring back Sting. But we just had Sting go out on injury. We just that he broke his neck and that he's going to need to go under mandatory surgery, so he's going to be out for 6 months. How the hell can we bring Sting back? And it's like, it doesn't matter, just bring him back next week. We need Sting. And this was kind of like the mentality that certain people in higher TNA management had. So I have a feeling that if MVP did not have the injury that he had, we probably would be looking at a new TNA champion right now, because without a doubt, probably the powers that be at TNA Wrestling weren't really too keen on the ratings that they've been seeing the past several weeks for EY as the respected champion. And look, I'm not trying to crap on TNA in any type of way, so please don't take it the wrong way, TNA diehard fans, as I've talked about this and have exhausted the hell out of why ratings unfortunately do matter, because at the end of the day, it's all about the money, the fettuccines, my baby, okay? But I really feel that because of the decline that's been happening with the ratings on Impact Wrestling, if MVP would have been healthy, they probably would have put the strap on him tonight, and then we probably would have seen how he would have been able to do as champion for Impact Wrestling in the coming weeks. It probably may have been better than Eric Young's reign so far. I will tell you this much. I don't think Eric Young is out of the woods just yet. I think, if anything, that idea of MVP still being champion is still on the back burner. I would not be that surprised if TNA Wrestling, just to try to give a ratings boost, I would not be surprised if maybe they would announce, probably as early as the TNA Impact Wrestling New York tapings, that there's going to be a match between Eric Young, MVP. MVP goes over. I could see something like that come about. Some of you guys may not like that. If you have a better idea, sign off. You know, that might not happen. Something else could happen. But marinate on that. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you think about that. But, you know, overall, I would have to say, with regards to this TNA Slammiversary pay-per-view event, TNA, they usually do phenomenally well with their pay-per-views. And Slammiversary, no exception. Now, if you were to ask me straight up, well, Lee, compare this Slammiversary to last year's. Did you enjoy this Slammiversary more than last year's, or was this one really on point? That's a tough call. For me, I would have to say it's almost equal, with the slight edge going more towards tonight's Slammiversary. Just the fact that we saw the next generation of the Von Erichs involved. For me, I'm a big fan of Sonata. I've taken the time to actually get familiar with some of his matches overseas, so I love seeing Sonata in there and him getting the retain and everything. I love the triple threat match that went down between Eric Young, Bobby Lashley, Austin Aries. Great spot right there. Anderson taking on Cowboy James Storm. That was another good match. The X Division Championship ladder match opener. I mean, the edge for me goes slightly more to this year's Slammiversary. Just the fact that we got to hear Team 3D go in. Whoop, I really would have to give the edge more to this one. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the highest. I'd have to give Slammiversary tonight a 8.5 out of 10. Couple of areas could have used a little bit of work. Like I would have preferred to see Bully Ray go over. Just get rid of that whole Ethan Carter the third streak, because at least that way they could have set up a meaner, more aggressive, more pissed off Ethan Carter III that didn't like the fact that his undefeated streak was taken away from him by Bully Ray, and that could have just given more of a reignition. That's not a word, by the way, but that could have reignited their feud a little bit more, or take it to that next level as far as Bully Ray taking on the Carters go. So I really felt that Bully Ray should have gotten the victory over EC3. So I had a problem with that area. Unfortunately, EY had to retain the championship. I like the fashion in which he did it, but I really was kind of even hoping that in those final few seconds that maybe MVP was going to come out, swerve everybody, put himself in the match, basically make it be a fatal four-way, pick up the sloppy seconds, become the TNA champion that way. But 8.5 out of 10, I'd have to give it to the pay-per-view. Let's see what you guys had to say about tonight's Slammiversary pay-per-view. And first things first, I'm going to kick things off. I'm going to see what you guys are saying on Twitter. And if you guys aren't saying anything on Twitter, then I'm going to go to Facebook next. I know we got the comments on YouTube, so I'm taking my time getting to you guys on YouTube here. Now, if you want to call into the show and go live with me, with a question or comment, TNA related, to talk about the Slammiversary pay-per-view, back smiling, now 646-478-3525. One more time, that's 646-478-3525. And as I'm pulling up you all's comments, quick note, I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but I was very fortunate and very honored to be able to sit down with former WWE superstar Brodus Clay for a great one-on-one interview. It's received a lot of great praise from the wrestling community. It was featured on WrestlingInc.com today. Special shout out to Wrestling Inc. for featuring it. If you haven't checked out our Brodus Clay interview, we actually have it on our YouTube channel right now. So when you get done with this, definitely go backtrack and check it out. I was able to chat with him for like about an hour. It was the first interview that he gave since his WWE release earlier in the week. So check it out. It's some really great stuff, man. You won't be disappointed, I promise you. All right. Robert, on Twitter, did you notice the crowd reaction when Eric Young won? Good pay-per-view, 8 out of 10. Raw man went over at the end. Sounds like maybe Robert wanted to see Austin Aries maybe pick up the win right there. No, man. It could very well happen. Don't count it out just yet, man. Anything can still happen. All right, let us pull up you guys' comments here. I originally had you all's comments on my other laptop, but it had died, unfortunately. So I am trying to multitask here on the same laptop that I'm using right now. Pull up you guys' comments. Bear with me here. A little slow right now. All right, let's see what we got right here. A lot of comments coming in for tonight's pay-per-view. That's good, too. I like that. Now, if I don't get to everybody's comments here, I will definitely get to you all once this is over, okay? And one more time, I got to show some love to our good friends that's sponsoring this episode tonight. One more time, we got to give it up to them. Definitely go out of your way to make sure you check them out as well. First off, we got to give a nod to STDHomeTestKit.com. One more time, you young couples out there, I know you guys are probably like, I ain't got to trip over that. My girl is with me. We're exclusive. Look, man, you can get STD in the most weirdest ways. And believe it or not, you can actually get an STD from oral pleasure. So do yourself a favor, especially if you haven't gotten yourself checked out in a while. You want to save yourself the embarrassment of going to the clinic, going to see your doctor. Just go to STDHomeTestKit.com. You can order yourself a kit. Do it in the privacy of your own home, you and your partner. You'll have the results in less than 10 minutes. Knowing is better than not knowing, all right? So make sure you do that, all right? And also, our good friends that's sponsoring this episode, 01 Pro Wrestling. They got a great training facility down in Orlando, Florida. You guys that want to train to become a wrestler, you want to be a manager, you want to be a valet, they can give you the necessary tools that's needed so that you can go out there in that wrestling industry and hopefully do very well for yourself financially. One more time, hit them up on facebook.com/the Pro Wrestling School. You can give their page a like while you're there. Let them know Lee Sanders of the RCWR show has sent you. Let's get to you guys' comments. Eugene, Lacey Von Erich retired when her TNA run was over. All right, so Eugene, as far as you know, she has not done a TNA one night only event, correct? I'm assuming that's basically what you're meaning right there. David, I love the X Division match, but Sonata was boring me. I'm sorry, I don't see what the big deal is. First TNA pay-per-view I bought in years, and it was pretty good. 7 out of 10. James Storm segment was awesome. Great main event. David, I do see what you're talking about with regards to Sonata. Sonata did not really bring his A game with regards to tonight's pay-per-view. I think it was just more about the other people that were involved in this match. But if you go back, and I'm not sure how far back you go, David, with seeing Sonata in TNA so far this calendar year, because he debuted for the promotion this year, but he had some really phenomenal matches with Tigre Uno, best 2 out of 3 for the X Division Championship. Great matches that he had right there. He even did a tag team match with Tigre Uno, as I believe they had took on the Bromance for a hot minute there, and they also had took on the Wolves. Sonata is a really great performer, especially as I suggested earlier, when you go back and you do your homework and you see the type of matches that he had in Japan shortly before getting involved with the TNA promotion, even as far as what he was doing at Wrestle 1. I mean, really, he's only doing half the stuff that he was doing with the Japanese promotions when you compare to TNA wrestling. I do agree with you. It didn't really seem like he really got a fair shot to really jump out there. I would definitely have to say so far this was probably the most weakest outing that he showed since he's been with the promotion so far. Hopefully he can step up his game the next go round. Mr. King, what's up, man? And I thought the steel cage can be won from escaping, but whatever. Yeah. Halim, nice videos. Thank you. Vince, anyone ever get VIP packages? Know what they're like? I have. What the hell are you saying, Vince? I gotta clean this up, buddy. Anyone ever get VIP packages? Okay, I guess you're asking about if anybody's ever gotten the TNA VIP packages. Okay? Looks like Vince is saying he has 3 VIP packages coming up, but never had one before. Vince, if you're not finding that answer on ImpactWrestling.com's website, man, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I really don't. Silver, X Division, Lashley versus Joe, Aries versus King, EC3 versus Bully Ray, and the main event were awesome. Going back to Vince, if anybody that has religiously done the TNA events, you've done those premium type of packages, please respond to Vince and help him out, because just for the sake of the argument, we know how half-assed the TNA wrestling website can be at times, okay? Help him out with that, please. Eugene would follow up. Enjoyable pay-per-view. I give it an 8 out of 10. There is more things I enjoyed. Most of my predictions were right. Only got 3 wrong. I wanted James Storm, Gail Kim, and Bully Ray to win. Storm because he been put over Gunner, and just thought Storm would get the win. Gail Kim just because she is the best knockout on the roster, and Bully Ray just because of his hardcore experience. Halim, who won the title match? Damn. Halim, we told you, and you know, for those of you that might just be coming on board, you might have missed it, or most importantly, you can't really tolerate these type of live web shows, and you want the results just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, instead of the whole great in-depth and analysis, then you want to head on over to your favorite wrestling website. So, Halim, hopefully that answers your question. Jay, man, what a great show. Other than EY retaining, did you see the poor reaction to him winning? I'm hoping him winning is to set up for an Aries title cash in at Destination X. Man, TNA talent doesn't get the respect it deserves. Too bad. Also wish Spike TV wasn't so expensive up here in Canada. It's a big reason people don't is a reason why people don't know TNA up here. You threw me off with the way you spelled no there, man. Blue Red, really enjoyed the show. Had some great matches, some entertaining segments, and a damn good main event. All right. Mike, E. Young doesn't have the name, power, or the ability to take TNA wrestling to the next level. Austin Aries or Bobby Lashley should have been crowned new TNA champion tonight. I agree. Edgar, how funny was the crowd reaction to Eric Young retaining? Disappointment. That's the best way I could describe that shit. And I'm going to be cursing now because we're well into the midnight hour here, so definitely the kiddies are probably asleep by now. So I can really be blunt with you guys here for a moment. Honestly, I thought it was the worst move that TNA had did. I think I think that audience was real TNA fans. I think those were probably longtime TNA fans. No disrespect to Eric Young. Phenomenal champion. Somewhat similar to Bobby Lashley. When he was the longest reigning TNA champion, he was going in there week in, week out, whether he was defending the title or he was in there having some really great matchups. He was going in there representing. Nothing to take away from EY. He's been doing a really phenomenal job. But you know what? At the end of the day, he just... You know what he's able to do with the Animal Planet show, that's good for him. But as far as what's happening with wrestling and all that, it just really is not working, and the ratings are reflecting that, unfortunately. And I don't care how many of you may be diehard fans. I can't help but go back to the Arsenio Hall analogy. Arsenio Hall has a lot of diehard fans. I'm definitely a diehard fan, but you know what? At the end of the day, when it counted the most, he just was not able to bring in that viewership to be able to keep those ratings at a certain level where he would continue to have sponsors, where he would be able to get picked up for another season. And you can have the most loyalist, diehard fans ever, but at the end of the day, it's all about the ratings. It's all about the fettuccinis. It sucks, I know, but that's just the way this whole world operates, you know. Let's be for real. If it was maybe 10, 15 years ago, TNA wrestling would probably not be on Spike TV right now. Let's be for real. With the type of numbers that they were getting, they probably would not be on the air right now. That's unfortunate. I mean, I love Eric Young. Really great champion. I said it once before, and I was actually saying it as early as a conversation I had with Christopher Daniels recently, which was Daniels should have been not Christopher Daniels, but Eric Young should have been champion when he had that whole, what was that, like around 2007 or something like that, the whole Don't Fire Eric thing, 2006, 2007. That's when he should have been champion. Read just a couple of more comments here, then we're going to wrap it up. Go back to Mr. King again. It was kind of dumb how Eric Young was getting the final pin there. It's Bobby Lashley finally waking up, and Eric Young is really boring now for me, at least. And Mr. Freebie, what's up, bro? This pay-per-view didn't put me to sleep like some others we know. Every match had my attention. I don't care who tries to hate on this pay-per-view. TNA did a good job tonight. I definitely agree with those sentiments. And just for the hell of it, I'm just going to refresh. See if you guys are saying anything more interesting. Halim, you replied again. And this goes out to those of you that have the same question as Halim has, which is, where can we watch the title match? Halim, you're going to have to come out of your pocket and you're going to have to pay to see that pay-per-view. All right? If you don't want to pay to see the pay-per-view, then you can catch highlights of it when Impact Wrestling comes on this Thursday night. As no doubt they'll be showing the highlights. If you maybe wait a little bit patiently, maybe 24 hours, I know on TNA Impact Wrestling's YouTube channel, you'll actually be able to either rent or you'll be able to own that TNA Slammiversary pay-per-view. We do not support illegal streaming of any type whatsoever. Very proud to say every single pay-per-view that I check out, I come out of my pocket and I pay for it. I don't like the people that illegally upload pay-per-views because, in all honesty, it hurts the business. So to answer your question, Halim, hopefully I answered it. Those are your options right there. And that is pretty much going to do it. So look, man, we got one show in the books. You WWE diehard fans, we're going to be coming on Monday night at 11:15 p.m. Eastern, or immediately after the conclusion of WWE Raw. Join us. We're going to be coming on exclusively here on YouTube to cover fallout from that event, as we're about 2 weeks away from the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So make sure you join us for that, 11:15 p.m. Eastern, or immediately after WWE Raw goes off the air. For all the very latest on wrestling news and beyond, be kind, rewind. We have great episodes for you to check out on the downloads: iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Blog Talk Radio. Use the keywords the RCWR show. One more time, if you enjoyed our recap and review, I can't stress it enough. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give our episode a like. You can Google this, you can retweet it, you can YouTube it, Facebook it. One of the many ways you can spread a good word about our content. We are on about a 24-hour break for now. Next show will be on, well, it's already June 16th, 2014, here at my respected end. So in just about less than, 23 hours, we'll be back talking fallout from WWE Raw. Thank you guys for staying up with us. A very good night, good morning. Please, everybody, be safe and be kind to one another. I'll see you next go around. Everybody, take care.